5?
We are indeed. We can take this opportunity to share with social media and let everyone know that we are now live. Hopefully people aren't a little bit distracted with the fact that we are running a couple of minutes late, but we shall explain why shortly. And the viewers are rolling in. Hello everybody, welcome along. Do jump in on the Q&A, let us know where you're watching from. Once again, these pictures have been sent in. This is the pictures countdown that we ran last week, with pictures from Greg Linders, from Mark Serby, and from Cedric Carmichael, who sent in pictures as well. But do share on social media, let everyone know that we're now live, and we'd love to have more people join us. 3.5 minutes, plenty of time to get on the Twitters and the Google Pluses and the Hellos, if anyone's actually using Hello now that Twitter seems to be self-destructing. As well over the last couple of weeks. Next week we will be live on air from 6 o'clock or from 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We will. Don't I sound convincing?
The music is a bit loud, Leonard.
I don't think so. I think it's very nice. Don't forget, the best way to interact with the Hangout is, of course, on the Q&A on the Google Plus event. If you head to the link that you'll find both on an EnglishmanInSanDiego.com, but also on the Google Plus event. Press Q&A and yeah, jump in. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know if you're volunteering or if you're intending to volunteer, because that is going to be one of our primary things that we're going to be talking about. Hello, Aaron Neighbours. Good morning. I need coffee. I hear what you're saying, sir. So 1 minute to go and we will be live. Like I say, we're going to be talking all the ComicCon headlines. We're going to be telling you what's going to be coming up in coming weeks, because we've got some interesting and exciting guests on the way. And of course, we are looking for a new 5-minute countdown series of pictures next week. So please do send yours in to pics@anenglishmanInSanDiego.com. And there you go.
And we're live.
Oh, we were live already. Now I'm here and no longer playing the 5-minute countdown. But thank you very much indeed to everyone who has sent in pictures in the past. We try and update that every week, so please do send in yours to pics@anenglishmaninsandiego.com. We'd love to see your memories, not only of San Diego Comic-Con, but of Wondercon, of off-site events, any of your favorite memories, because I guarantee you will have folders of pictures. So please do send them in. So welcome to A Cup of Tea with an Englishman in San Diego. This is where each week we talk San Diego Comic-Con, Wondercon, con culture, and all the stuff and nonsense that goes off around it. It is the 7th of February 2016 with 164 days to go to San Diego Comic-Con. It is stampeding towards us at a fair pace, considering that we have had a number of announcements from Comic-Con International. We're also going to be very quickly touching on the Q&A that I sent in to Comic-Con International. We're talking about Netflix, talking about Wondercon. We'll cover that in a little bit and talk about what has happened over the last 7 days. But I'm doing that with my partner in crime. We have Alyssa Franks joining us. Hello, Alyssa. How are you?
I'm well, Leonard. It's just us today since there is no preview for the lower pictures, and usually people can see who's on the show. So it's just me and Leonard today. So very casual, just talking about stuff that's been happening. I'd like to point out that it's also 39 days till C2E2 and 46 days till WonderCon and 60 days till Emerald City Comic-Con. So spring con planning is up and running massively, big time.
Well, I've been speaking to a number of people who've been getting their flights booked, who have been kind of, they're putting everything in place and getting themselves ready. Obviously, there are a couple of major obstacles still to come. We were kind of hoping that we were going to be hearing sooner rather than later about the hotel sale, or certainly the online registration, badge registration as well, which, fingers crossed, we'll be hearing, if not this week, then next. So hopefully at some point in the next couple of weeks, we'll get something along those lines. And then, of course, we've got the hotel sale as well. But one thing that we have got to talk about is something that was announced at the middle of this week. This is the volunteering, which is going to be taking place. This is the something that you had to already have submitted your interest for, especially if you were somebody who didn't volunteer last year. Perhaps this is going to be your first time volunteering. Now, admittedly, with volunteering, the way that they do that at San Diego Comic-Con, they do call on the pool of volunteers from the previous year, because they do want to try and find people that have not only done it before and they kind of know the ropes. They don't have to keep reteaching people the general idea of what is expected of a volunteer, but also they look for people who are reliable and dependent. If you have volunteered in the past, you do know that you're kind of graded on a curve by the person who is running the room and who is the room monitor for wherever you've been allocated. It's I believe a 3-point system. Basically, it's no, we're not too keen on having this person back again. Promising, and yes, let's have that person back for 2016. They do all go back into the mix, and yes, those people are contacted. Now, as far as if I recall correctly, Alyssa may have to correct me on this one. The people who have already been volunteers, I think they're already called on. This volunteer session, which takes place on Tuesday, the 9th, 2016, is for everybody who has got a valid member ID and has put their name forward for volunteering. Is that right?
Yes, they had to have signed up into the interest pool, quote unquote. That opened and closed months ago, so there's no possibility of getting into that. Historically, the application process opens and closes within minutes, so it's very old school. Timing wise, like the badge sales used to be for the volunteer pool. So be active, be quick about getting your application in. I think there was one person who encouraged their friend to apply for the volunteer just in case they didn't get Gen Reg. And the friend came back and said, well, if it's still open later on that day, I'll apply. To which point we're all like, yeah, they're done.
Yeah.
They're toast.
Thank you very much for playing the game.
Level, for con, to do that. As somebody said something similar to that with regards to the Gen Reg sale, that they were going to wait until May to decide whether or not they go to con, and we're all like, they're done.
Yeah.
So
very quickly cover what was actually announced. This was in an email that was sent out to those people that did put their name forward into the interest pool. The email is to let you know that beginning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, February the 9th, online volunteer registration for ComicCon International 2016 will be open to the 2016 interest list. With the instructions beginning at 10 a.m. Pacific time, you may log on to your member ID, click on the volunteering tab, and you will see the link for online volunteer registration. In other words, they're not going to be sending out any more emails. They're not going to be sending out any links. It all has to be done through your member ID. So it's definitely sorting the people who are casual interests in volunteering to those people who have definitely got their eye on the prize of volunteering this year. Only those in the interest list will be able to see the link when they log in. Signups will be on a first come, first served basis. Now, let's very quickly talk, Alyssa, about what the pros and cons are of actually volunteering at Comic-Con. Let's go from kind of like personal experience, because I volunteered and you have as well. I mean, what was in your mind is the main con of, or the main plus of volunteering at San Diego Comic-Con?
You know that if you don't get all 4 days of badges, that you'll be able to go to con. I mean, that's in a nutshell. On the other altruistic side, it's giving back to the con, of course, which is important. And there's also the sense of getting to know what happens behind the picture, the curtain, so to speak, which I and I think a lot of other people appreciate.
Sure, I appreciate that. I mean, for example, I've got a couple of comments from people that I've been speaking to over the course of the last couple of days when we said that we were going to be talking about volunteering. For example, in a couple of groups, I've got James Ormiston, who turned around and said, I've done it a few times and I have a few tips. It's not always going to be exciting. The shift I did last year did feel incredibly dull. Also, bring sunscreen. The shift I did 2 years ago was doing line management on the volunteers sign-up line, which went out around the outside of the Marriott, baking hot with little shade. I got burnt and had to head straight to the hotel for some sunscreen afterwards. And number 3, he also puts, the earlier you do it, the more likely you are still to have a volunteer shirt in your size. That's something that some people don't perhaps think about. As
Absolutely. Speaking as one who's always gotten an extra large, because that's all that's been left on Sunday afternoon at 4:30. Yeah. So I totally agree. I have managed to not get shifts outside. I've been working the past 3 cons and have always gotten nice shifts. I don't know if that's because I've always ended up doing my shifts last minute on Sunday or not. That could have something to do with it. But that's, they seem to give you the ability to say, I would prefer to do this over that.
Yeah.
Whether or not they...
I'll agree with that. They're very accommodating in terms of what you're wanting to do, especially if, for example, there's a panel that perhaps you want to go and attend to, because as part of your volunteer services, If you volunteer on a day, you will get a Comic-Con day pass for the day that you're volunteering, and you also do sign up for, or manage to get hold of a T-shirt as well. But if you do speak to them when you sign up at San Diego, you can. There is a little bit of leeway there, but at the end of the day, it is more a case of you take what you're given.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But you know, it's I suspect that if you're one of those people like myself who has a real problem with being outside in the direct sunlight, and were to kind of explain to them that you tend to fall over and faint when you get too hot, that that there would be some accommodation made. That said, you know, you are volunteering and you got to put your 3 to 4 hours in per day. And, you know, if you're not willing to do that, then don't do it, because you will get blacklisted, you will get taken off the polls, and you will not be able to do it again. Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about the shifts that we have done. I think I volunteered. Well, my volunteer experience is slightly different, but I'll come back to mine. I mean, what's the shifts that you've done, Alyssa?
The first year I handed out bags on Sunday morning, or late Sunday morning, and kind of got told by the other volunteers that I was too energetic and friendly and helpful. Yes, I work in customer service, and that is my persona, my work persona.
Yeah, okay, that's a first.
Yeah, I know. Although I will say that the staff people were very friendly towards me. So they, you know, but perhaps I was a little too bouncy for a Sunday. Would have fit in more better on Thursday, for example. The second year I got put as a runner for one of the offices. So I was effectively sitting in an office waiting for people to say, hey, go get me or I need or take this to and played on my phone for a couple of hours. That was a sweet job. The last one I was in the art. I actually was helped out in the art auction, and that was fascinating. That was really interesting. I got to see firsthand how that all worked, and I enjoyed that tremendously. That one.
Was this the art show up in the sales?
Yep. Yeah. I think I'll ask for that. I'll ask for that again. The people are friendly and the art is fun, and I enjoyed walking around and looking at stuff.
I did that as my I think that was my last volunteer shift that I did in 2013 when I did the art show. When I volunteered, I've usually tried to volunteer on preview nights, because I'm not one to do the exclusives. I'm not one to do the kind of rushing around on the floor, and at least then I'm giving the opportunity to give back. And yeah, I've helped out on the art show, and also helped out on the handing out of bags, and also standing around and making one of the jobs I did have was not handing bags out, but standing by the bag bins, making sure that people weren't trying to come back and renegotiate for bags that they were particularly after. The Warner Brothers lot, you have to kind of like be a little bit more forceful, but at 6'4", I think I can be a little bit.
Absolutely. Little harder for me, because I have a tendency of being too friendly. You know, it goes back to that customer service thing. But yeah. Well, I should say, if I'm grumpy, then yeah, no, all bets are off. Everybody knows that with me.
I think you'll find, if you are wanting to apply for volunteering, as a number of people have told me, the vast majority of jobs at San Diego Comic-Con, remembering that there's an entire army that's required to make this non-profit work as well as it does, is line management. in terms of making sure that people are continuing to flow on the exhibition floor, to make sure that if lines are broken, that lines are kept in some kind of order and organization, allowing people or maneuvering people to go wherever they need to go, and in an orderly fashion. It is all about keeping the attendees well motivated, well informed, and it's very difficult to do that when you feel that perhaps if you haven't done it before, that you're kind of thrown in at the deep end. But the volunteers people are very good at explaining what is required of you. You just have to be a little bit more clued in and pay attention to what's actually going on around you.
I think that you've identified that maybe one of my next tasks that I'll ask for, which is, being one of the people that holds the end of line placards on the show floor. I think I'd like that. That would be a different experience, and I think I'd enjoy that.
Yeah. Like I say, my experience was slightly different, but it's me. What do you expect? In 2011, I returned for my second year at San Diego ComicCon and asked if I could put my name down for volunteering. As it happens, I was sent up to room, I believe it was room 2 that first year, with the how-to artist alley room, and I got to meet Clydeen Nee, who was the person who runs Artist Alley. It really was a case of, again, room and line management, standing at the door, making sure that people were entering the room on the right door, leaving at the right in the other opposite door. That way they could keep an eye on how many people were in the room, and then you could kind of keep an accurate sense of how many could come in. That was the general idea of the job that I did that first year. But as it happened, this was on the Thursday, and there weren't as many panels on that Thursday that I was actually interested in seeing. And so I did my first shift, which was 8 through till 11, 3 hours, at which point I turned around and said to the person running the room, do you want me to hang around? I will do another couple of hours if you want, if you're okay with me just hanging around and helping out if you want me to. At which point they said yes. They put on a gold star on the piece of card, and the following year I actually got in contact with Clydeen and said, if there's any way that I can give back to Comic-Con in terms of my own personal experience as a DJ, being able to speak to people, having some ability to communicate with the crowd, if there's any way that you can use me. At which point I was requested if I wanted to become volunteer staff. So in 2012, that's what I did. And I did that in 2012 and 2013, which gave me some amazing opportunities in terms of doing the whole standing up in front of a room and announcing the room rules, introducing people up onto the stage, and generally having a good time with the crowd that were in room 2. It was a lot of fun. And the highlight of that, of course, is being given the opportunity to introduce Jim Lee on stage, which I did in 2013. A lot of fun. But I think
I've got the ability to stand up in front of people and entertain. It's a rare talent.
Yeah, well, thank you. But I think one thing that my experience does tell me, and it's what all I can do to pass on to yourself, is if you show the enthusiasm and if you show the drive to help Comic-Con become better, and if you actually want to kind of impress upon them what you want to give back to Comic-Con, they do recognize that, and they do kind of respond by asking you back and giving you kind of thumbs up and all that. I've seen enough volunteers, because when I have run the room as a volunteer staff member, I've seen enough people walk through the door as doing their volunteer shift and definitely giving off that vibe that they are just there for the t-shirt and also for the free badge as well. And it's kind of like that shorthand that we have, or we have had as volunteer staff members. They're here for the t-shirt. At the end of the day, that's not what they want. They want people who are wanting to be a bit more enthusiastic, and that's all. Certainly, from my perspective, I can say if you are volunteering at Comic-Con this year, if it's your first time. Is there anything else that you want to add, Alyssa?
A couple of things that there will be, just in case people don't understand, when you sign up for the volunteer shifts, if you're a new volunteer and you're trying to sign up on the 9th for a new shift, keep your eyes out for a box that'll be on the form, and I don't know where it is because it's been a while since I've signed up myself, that you want to check if you're available to do a pre-con shift. If you check that box, you will get a notification that that the pre-con shifts are open. I believe they don't give us any advanced warning for the people for pre-con shifts, and you have to drop, when you get that email, you have to drop everything and go sign up for a pre-con shift. My remembrance is that you have there's a couple of people they need on Monday, a few people on Tuesday, and a lot of people on Wednesday. That's the preview night for handing out bags.
If I remember the numbers correctly, it's something like on the Monday they need only like 15. They only need like a very small skeleton crew, and it really is to kind of run backwards and forwards, shuttling messages on pieces of paper. It really holding doors open for VIPs to get stuff into offices. You are basically helping the skeleton crew of Comic-Con get themselves in the office. And then I think it's something like 150 volunteer staff on the Tuesday as the whole thing starts to ramp up. But this is for people who are in town early and really want to give back to the event.
Well, the advantage of doing a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and I'm not quite sure about a Wednesday shift, how that's going to work this year, but a Monday or Tuesday shift is that you will get a badge for one of the con days. So you could pick Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Sure. So you don't have to say you've got a Hall H thing happening on Saturday that you really want to do. You don't have to, you can do your Hall H thing without having to do a volunteer shift and still have your badge. I'm not sure how that's going to work this year with the no preview night stickies for volunteers.
Well, indeed, that's a question that's come in from James Ormiston on the Q&A. Does anyone know, with returning volunteers no longer getting preview night, if you do your shift on Wednesday, do you get a preview night badge, or do you have to pick one of the 4 full days? It's a good question.
That's a good question, and maybe they'll give you the option. Who knows?
At this point, I don't know. It's very much in the air.
Yeah. That actually sounds like an excellent question to pose to Sue Lord, the head of volunteers, to ask her. I'd be very interested in hearing the results on that one. So if anybody does know the answer to that, broadcast it, post it.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's certainly a question that I think I'll put to David. I'm certain that he'll be in contact with Sue and get some kind of response, because if you've been following the small amount of posts that I've been putting up on an Englishman in San Diego while I've been convalescing and recovering from my surgery. Yes, we did have a Q&A which we sent in to David Glanzer. When you speak to Comic-Con International, or when you hear anything from Comic-Con International, it's all coming through the press office. It's a singular voice. It provides an absolute focus for the organization, and David Glanzer is the person that runs that particular department. We did get a couple of interesting comments and questions out of him, especially regarding Netflix, which we covered last week, in terms of the rather conspicuous absence of Netflix at San Diego Comic-Con. David returned with a reply saying, I certainly can't speak for Netflix, but I don't know of any outstanding issue. I know they have participated at Wondercon and we work with the same team, so I'm unaware of any problem. I do know, however, that we get a number of inquiries when a particular studio or network does not participate in one of our shows, but typically it has to do with timing, filming schedules, cast availability, and marketing support often falls in line with ComicCon or Wondercon, but not always. And when it doesn't fall in line, then it's difficult to commit to appearing at the show. If a studio cannot commit fully for whatever reason, they know it's usually not in their best interest to do a half-baked effort, which sounds very diplomatic. And I totally understand where David's coming from in terms of his response. However, I've also done a little bit of extra digging as well. And it doesn't seem more a case of, while I have kind of implied a little bit of a conspiracy theory in terms of Netflix, it is seeming very much more a case of Netflix aren't as big as perhaps a lot of us seem to think they are. And they don't actually have the money or resources to actually attend every single convention. Their marketing budget is particularly small, and they do pour everything into the product themselves. So while we may seem to think that there is very much malicious intent in terms of Netflix, it may actually be more a case of they simply don't have the resources to go. Here's hoping, however, in 2016, with the amount of Marvel product that they're putting forward, that will hopefully change for this year. At this point, we don't know. We'll find out when schedules get more announced.
I would like to see that be the case, that Netflix just has to ramp up. That would be great, because that would bode very well for their long-term interest in the Marvel, putting forward the Marvel and the better shows. That would be so. I'm hopeful that that's indeed the case, and that would. I'd love to see them at some of the other shows and do some big Hall H stuff. I know TV, but Sunday in Hall H is traditionally the TV day. So Daredevil, Jessica Jones in Hall H would be really fun. A nice balance out from the lack of Doctor Who.
Well, yes, that we've already discussed on a previous episode.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not going to be getting any Doctor Who in 2016, considering that we're not getting any of the actual show this year either. So be interested to see what is going to fill in that void. Hopefully, Netflix will find some money from somewhere to come and join us in San Diego this year.
I've been doing a little bit of comparison of the I was looking over the guest lists of C2E2 and WonderCon, simply because you can't help but compare the two sister shows for those two conventions. And there is remarkably little. I'm just talking to comic creators here. And yes, I know I'm changing topic a little bit. It's my prerogative. I do that sometimes. But there is very little overlap. So it doesn't seem as though that we're going to get somebody who's showing up to C2E2 who flies out to WonderCon. And it's interesting the different, for example, at WonderCon, we're getting names like Terry Moore and Jim Lee and Sienkiewicz. Bill Sienkiewicz. It's good. I was even close.
I thought it was Sinkovich.
Okay, my pronunciation is guaranteed to be wrong.
I thought it was Sinkovich.
So you're getting those Charles Sewell. You're getting those kinds of people, and in the C2E2, it's a lot of the people that go to the ReedPop, a lot of the talent that comes to the ReedPop cons, the Addie Gravoff, Bill Templesmith, Scott Snyder, all good names, but people that we see at their cons quite a bit. So Ed McGuinness, Frank Chu. So what that's kind of saying to me is that people are choosing. The artists are choosing which cons that that they're approached to, that they're approached, and which cons that they choose to go to. Which is, I wonder if that's a logistical thing, i.e., if Frank Chu goes to C2E2 because he lives in Chicago, which is always.
We kind of talked about this last week when we had our guest join us, an artist who spoke about just the logistics of attending as many cons as they can. It does take, at the end of the day, it takes them out of their working routine when they're earning money. And they can't attend every single con. I've been speaking, for example, to a personal favorite artist of mine, which is Scotty Young, who announced his schedule this week. One of the rather obvious cons that he did not list on his schedule is San Diego Comic-Con. And I spoke to him and asked him, does that mean that you're not coming? And he turned around and said, at the end of the day, Marvel haven't invited me, and my dance card is pretty full as it is. At the end of the day, they can't attend everywhere. So it's very awkward to see. Although I've been very interested to see the guest list for Comic-Con this year, considering tomorrow we'll be getting another wave of guests. Last Monday, they had their fourth wave, which was Emily Carroll, Keith Knight, Marissa Mayer. But one of the regular regular faces that shows up at Comic-Con, Matt Fraction, who's the writer of Hawkeye, Sex Criminals, and Satellite Sam. His attendance interests me, considering that other special guests announced as the third wave were two names that I do go on a lot about, which is Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey, the guys behind The Wicked and Divine. The reason why those combinations of names interest me is because of milk-fed criminal masterminds, which is Matt Fraction and Kelly Sue DeConnick's organization. And considering they're now branching into licensing television options of various comics, including The Wicked and Divine and indeed Sex Criminals. I think when you start piecing together the special guests, you can start imagining what panels we may be seeing in San Diego. I mean, I don't know if those names have shown up at C2E2 or have they been announced at the other cons?
Not that I've seen. But speaking of, you can piece together stuff. One of the things that I saw in C2E2 page was that a couple of the, what do they say, the talent guests were from stuff you missed in history class. So if you have two talent people from that, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to get a panel for that. Yeah. Which I am immensely interested in, stuff you missed in history class, because that sounds like it's going to be just a fun small panel that you don't have to queue up for days for, which I'm kind of, and
a lot more of those this year.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I will say about talent, we have a lady on our forum, Francesca, I think is her name. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but she's not going to be doing San Diego this year. She's bowed out of it. She's still got stuff in the art sale upstairs in the cells, but she's given up her table because, as she said, it's just not cost effective these days.
I'm hearing a lot of artists that are sharing their tables this year.
It at this point, now we're not talking the Tony Moores and the Kieran Gillians and the top A-list kind of people. She does fantasy art and has a smaller cult following, but she finds it most productive to go to the smaller shows, the Salt Lake Cities, and those kinds of shows where she can really talk to and do commissions for people on a one-on-one basis versus having to fight. I shouldn't say fight, but having to compete with all of the top name talent that is at San Diego. I certainly know that I get overwhelmed.
If you have a specific artist that you would like to see at one of these events, any of them, C2E2, WonderCon, do keep a very close eye on their social media, because it's at this point they're now starting to juggle and balance what dates they're wanting to do. Like I say, with Scotty Young and a whole bunch of others as well. I do know that Bill Sienkiewicz, like I say, he's been announced as a special guest, and everyone is very much looking forward to seeing him at WonderCon. But But
I'm actually even thinking about seeing if I can get a sketch by him.
oh, that would be wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I can afford it. His artist book, I'm going to be like drooling over his art book and trying to find something that I can afford. So,
I promised myself that I was going to try and get a Katie Cook this year.
But,
yeah. Who knows? It's just a case of keep your eyes open on their social media, because it's around this time that they're now starting to piece things together for the next 3-4 months.
And they're starting to open up their commissions list.
Yeah.
So if you want something at C2E2, you may be able to say, hey, I want an Electra from Signwick. So,
please.
Yes. You know, how much is that going to cost me? And he'll come back with like $2,000 and I'll be like, can't do it. Speaking of money, so how is everybody thinking about their hotel rooms at San Diego? I am.
Well, I have already been asked what my budget is for accommodation this year at San Diego, and I don't think the word tent was received in quite the positive manner in which it was intended, but it's getting that way. It's because if you've been a regular viewer, you know that I've not been in the best of health at the end of last year, the beginning of this. I have been off the road. I've not been earning, and I'm a little bit. It's starting to get a little bit close now. It's starting to get a bit tight. So obviously we are. I mean, I think we're going to be doing an episode in the next couple of weeks where we do talk about budgeting, how to do Comic-Con perhaps a little bit cheaper. And we are going to be doing that. Hopefully, we're going to be getting some people involved on a hangout where we are going to be talking about doing Comic-Con on the cheap. So,
I will say that, and this won't work for you, unfortunately, Leonard, because of the whole driving on the wrong side of the road thing. But sometimes I was able to pick up a condo outside, and I needed a car rental. Outside of the city, 10 or 15 minute drive into the convention center for like $900 plus $200 for a car. So it ended up being $1,200 for the two of us for a week in San Diego in a gorgeous place.
I can say, however, from personal experience, if you do get inside that car with Alyssa, make sure you have a working sat-nav and general idea of how the roads work in San Diego. Just
because I don't. I get on the West Coast, and I mean, I am like a very aggressive driver on the East Coast, which is bad for the West Coast because I don't understand how they work. I just don't. I'm not. Anyway, moving on.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of the other headlines that have been discussed this week. Announced, I believe it was on Tuesday. No, it was announced on Wednesday. If you are attending Wondercon, you do have the opportunity to see something first before everyone else. Justice League versus Teen Titans. It's getting its world premiere exclusively at Wondercon 2016. This is something that's been organized by long-term partners with CCI, which is Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. It's going to be, let's have a quick look. Badges are still available for Wondercon, by the way. You won't be able to buy them on site. So if you do want, go to the Wondercon portal on comic-con.org and get your badges, especially if you are a fan of Teen Titans, which I've started to become, actually. The Warner Brothers animation department are floating my boat at the moment. They're producing good stuff. So very interested to see what people's take on that will be when that gets its premiere at Wondercon. That's
I know it's
Justice League versus Teen Titans.
Yeah, but I've never been very big on superhero animation. It just doesn't, you know, it's got to be really kind of. I've liked Animaniacs. I liked, there was a Gargoyles one that I liked, but it's got to. I'm not so hot on this, so I doubt I will see this. Plus, there's probably meetups going on at that point. I think the forum has got a meetup on Thursday, Friday, and probably even Saturday night.
There's nothing like keeping your social calendar full, is there, Alyssa?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, I think the meetups are just an excuse to meet down at the bar and have a drink, you know, with friends. So.
Okay. Right. To be honest, it is now a case of just gearing up for the General Reg. Next week we are doing a General Reg preparation show where we're going to be talking about what you can do to correctly get yourself in the right frame of mind for the online badge registration. Like I say, we are hoping that at some point this week we'll get the announcement or the emails through. Do pay attention to Friends of CC on Twitter and Englishman SDCC as well. We'll do what we can to, as soon as it gets announced, let everyone know that that badge sale is happening. But so far, penciled, we're going to be having a prep show on the 14th, and then we're going to be having a post-Gen Reg sale discussion on the 21st to see how things developed. I personally don't think we're going to be having too much in terms of fallout. Over the last 2-3 years, they pretty much stuck to a successful formula for them. Yeah, what do you think?
Can we go back and talk about the dates?
Well,
just saying. Yeah, the reason why we're saying that that Leonard and I think that we're pretty safe is doing a pre-show on the 13th is because we figured that they're not going to do it on Valentine's Day, and B, that they're going to let the volunteer, the open volunteer thing settle a bit. The 20th, I think there's also another convention in SoCal. So that may throw a wrench into the works, and we may end up having it on the 27th. What I've been saying on the forum is that the 20th or the 27th has been the 2 days that I've been kind of thinking and blocking out for my boss at work, saying I may have to take one of those days off.
Fair enough.
Because it is all about work, you know, to make money for con, because we got to do that. Yeah. So just, you know, give that. So we may not be doing a wrap-up show on the 21st.
Well, you never know. I mean, considering that I'm kind of hoping that it's not the 28th, considering that that is going to be London Super ComicCon, which I'm hopefully going to be attending, and we're going to be doing a live wrap-up show from that particular event. If it does happen, then more than likely we'll be talking London Super ComicCon and the aftermath of Gen Reg. So keep your eyes open. Hopefully in the next 7 days or so, 7 to 14 days, we'll definitely have the word on when that's going to happen. What we are going to be doing, however, starting next week, and something that I know that a couple of people have been asking about, are we going to be doing any more giveaways on the Hangout? Well, we had a very good supporter last year from Dark Bunny Tees. They've been very generous in the past, giving us discount codes, giving us t-shirts, giving us hoodies. They've been very, very generous, and they're back. We're going to be starting to do some more giveaways as of next week. We will be giving giveaways live on the Hangout, so you do have to be a live viewer to win, as well as some giveaways as the week after. But that starts next week, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks as well, we're also going to be having Alex from Dark Bunny Tees joining us, because one thing that I would like to talk about are those people on exhibition floors which aren't purely comic related, aren't Artist Alley. Sometimes people do wonder why there are t-shirt retailers there, why there are I don't know, necklace manufacturers, tattoo artists. We're going to be talking about the retail side of Comic-Con, what it actually is to be somebody exhibiting at an event like San Diego. So Alex is going to be joining us in the next couple of weeks, as well as giving away some t-shirts as of next week. So that's
just to plug you were plugging London Supercon ComicCon on the 20th, and I'll be at C2E2, so we'll be broadcasting from there. And also,
by the way,
I'm sorry?
20th of March.
March. Done that again. And the 27th, I'll be broadcasting from Wondercon. So hopefully we'll have some special guests, either from the forum or from that I can maybe wander around and talk to some retailers on the floor.
Let you know as well, on the 13th, the weekend before C2E2, we're also going to be joined by Cameron Duell and Yoko McCann from Funko, who's going to be live with us on the 13th of March. They're both extremely excited to talk about what they've got planned for C2E2 and WonderCon, and they're going to be giving away some prizes as well.
Nice.
All right? So just to let you know.
I like the lean in.
Oh, yes. Freebies. So keep your eye, put that in your diary. Certainly the 13th of March, we're going to be having Cameron and Yoko from Funko joining us on the Hangout. We're doing our best to get as many guests as we can. So if you've got any suggestions of people that you would like us to invite onto the Hangout, let us know. You can tweet us at CupOTSDCC on the Hangout, on the hashtag, sorry, or you, of course, you can tweet me direct at Englishman SDCC if there's anybody that you would like me to pester to get onto to hang out as a guest. Okay? And I'm certain there'll be a couple of suggestions from the forum as well, Alyssa.
Oh, just a few. And we've had a lot of great guests on from the forum too, in terms of fitness. The gentleman that we had on, the Mighty Jerd, and group leaders, and so we've got a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with our guests, and it is a roundtable event after all, which means anyone can join in. So do let us know who you would like to see on the Hangout in the future. Okay, we're actually finishing before the hour now. I think we're waffling on a bit now, so I think we'll draw a line under it there. Thank you very much indeed for watching this week. Once again, keep your eyes open on the social medias, because you never know. It may even happen next weekend. But I think we're safe to say that we're going to be talking either the 20th or the 27th. This is me now jinxing everything, so who knows?
You never know.
You never know. One thing that's definitely going to be happening is a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego next Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 6 p.m. GMT. So do join us next Sunday. Alyssa, thank you very much indeed for your time again. Where can people find you online?
friendsofcc.com/forum. Search for Alyssa, PM me. I'd be happy to hear from you.
And of course, you can find her on Twitter.
I know, but I don't pay as much attention to that. It is at Friends of CCI.
Fair enough. Then, of course, Twitter is, of course, going to be self-destructing as of Tuesday or Wednesday, because they're now changing their timelines, and everyone's going to be leaving Twitter to go to MySpace or something. So, yeah, do keep your eyes on whatever social media you happen to be using in 7 days' time. You can find me at Englishman SDCC. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this week, and we'll see you next Sunday. Take care.
Bye-bye.